All right. Hey everyone, I am really excited to have Pei on this LinkedIn Live with us. Pei is an incredible person. I've not had the fortune of meeting her in person, but we've talked remotely quite a few times. What separates Pei from almost everybody else that I've spoken to so far is that she's one of those few people who comes across to me as really empathetic, kind, creative, and funny. And those are things that we typically don't use a lot when we talk to other fellow Salesforce professionals, ironically. And Pei leads Zenhao, which is deeply involved in training and helping people build a career in the Salesforce ecosystem. I'm going to turn it over to you, Pei, to talk a little bit about yourself and give an introduction to all of us.
Thank you. I love project delivery. I love seeing technology being used in a way that actually makes sense, that delivers value. And it all started over 30 years ago. I was having a conversation with my friends. Somebody interviewed me as an admin for the London admin user group, and I said, I haven't been an admin since 1995. I was a system and network administrator, not so much Salesforce admin as you understand it, but all throughout, I have been very passionate about making sure that whatever we build, whatever we create for our end users, is what they want and what they need. So project delivery is actually my bag. And as part of that is understanding what people need. And sometimes they aren't able to articulate what they need, and sometimes they don't know how to say it. So, my passion is also about communication, understanding what they say, what they don't say, what do they really mean, not making assumptions. How do we validate what we think they mean, so that we can actually cut through all the layers of prejudice or bias or assumptions and get to what really matters. And so I think that's the crux of what I do. It's project delivery, but most of all, it's about communication and connection. Because without those two, I think whatever we build, whether it's with AI or without AI, or whether it's with new tech or old tech, it won't matter if we get it wrong.
True. So, how is project delivery changing with AI and agentic AI and all the wonderful things we are reading about and seeing on around us these days?
Wow, you're opening a can for me. I can talk about this for ages. Actually, that brings me to one particular LinkedIn post that I saw. I think it was a day or so ago. So we've just had Dreamforce last week, and anyone who's been following Salesforce and Dreamforce will come to understand that Agent Force is what they're betting on. AI and getting an agentic enterprise to deliver value is the future. That's what they're betting on. This particular post, actually, I sometimes I wonder whether it was written to generate kind of like reactions or not. But basically, the premise was Salesforce is going down the path where partners isn't necessary anymore. They are going to use agents to do the end-to-end project delivery. And I had to give my 2 cents. And I'm thinking that when I started my consulting career, I was within a cohort. My peers were actually consultants even way before me in the Siebel, SAP, and Oracle world. The questions they were asking, they were talking about then, and the gripes is still the same. It's about requirements. It's about users. It's about people changing their minds. It's about politics. It's not changed at all because people haven't changed. People are messy. People change their minds. They are not clean. They're not consistent. They're not clear. All the things you need automation and AI to actually start from. And so I'm thinkings at the moment. I'm really open to being wrong, but at the moment, I think that project delivery, especially when it comes to eliciting and gathering requirements and making sure that what we build is what the client and the end user actually need, is not something that can be turned over to AI quite yet. That's my personal opinion.
I would tend to agree. I think a good way to really perceive and a mindset for AI is it's a tool. It's a significantly more capable tool, but a tool nonetheless. And you can do a lot of good or a lot of damage with it. And that's where, back to your point of why we need consultants or subject matter experts, or people who can navigate internal politics, confusion, bring clarity to the stage. I think that AI fortunately has not gotten there yet. uh, that's the way it seems to me. Are you like talking to customers and others in the community, and what's the sense you're getting about the adoption of AI, particularly in the Salesforce ecosystem, and also from a talent perspective? How are people adding it to their careers and redefining it?
So I think there's a couple of things. One is where one is there's a sense of overwhelm. It's only been 2 years since ChatGPT was released, November 2023. I was actually there when it first came out, and I thought this is such a game changer. Only through 2 years, and the amount of stuff that's been coming forth, and the speed and the rate of how quickly things are improving is just monumental. And when people say if you don't get on the AI bandwagon, you're going to be left behind, there is such a massive sense of fear and anxiety about being left behind, and yet not knowing what they should be doing because things are going too fast. It's very akin to your kind of like on a train track that's going too fast, but you don't know where it's going, and you have got to figure out while you're at that speed. So a lot of people are feeling anxiety. um, at the same time, those of us who have done project delivery, we realize in order for you to have a successful case study, and there are many case studies that are where agent force has been rolled out properly, all the stuff in the keynote. But what they kind of don't mention is the amount of prep work they've got to do to get to that point. Data's got to be in a pretty reasonable place, if not perfect. Your tech debt needs to be in control. Your automation, your processes, your flows need to be well thought out already, um, before you can stick an agent on your system. So there is an assumption that your house needs to be in order first. And a lot of clients, a lot of implementation, they're not there. And work needs to be done to get there. So I think the spotlight's on how do we get ourselves AI ready, which is the question that everyone's talking about, not just within the org, but also in the people and process side, in the governance side, in the mindset of how are we going to use that, in order to deliver actual company value. And there's too many AI consultants at the moment. So if I can believe everything that falls into my news feed, everyone and his dog is an AI consultant who can help you get ready. And then when you check their background, they don't seem to have as much gravitas or experience. And I'm thinking they've used AI to help them write all these wonderful things. So there's a lot of fear, from a lot of people to be to be to be ready, to be seen, to be grasping it, or they get left behind. So that's one part of it. I'm just going to pause there because I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
No, I think you have it very. You said this very well. So we've been at GPT-5. We've been implementing AI inside Salesforce natively with GPT-5, obviously, and it's given me an opportunity to see firsthand some of the challenges that you mentioned. Uh, you know, the unfortunate part about getting AI ready is that all the things you mentioned are a bit of a longer term investment. They're not like go ahead and turn this setting in Salesforce and you're fine. So because it does require time to do this, and the challenge that I see with a lot of customers is, on one hand, there is this anxiety or this fear of missing out of like, hey, we need to bring this into our environment. We need to start playing with it. We need to start getting some sort of value out of it. And on the other end, you have all the foundational challenges with data, with governance, with security, with user adoption, people just even understanding how to use it. And some of the areas that I think we have made some progress in terms of helping customers get some interim value while they are building all these other things or incorporating them is really around back-end automation. So an example is if you were doing case routing, case classification, maybe using AI to get resolution on cases. I found things like that tend to be somewhat of a lower hanging fruit if, to your point, they don't have a ton of tech debt. If you have triggers that are going to fire and 1,500 different case routing rules, then maybe you probably need to do a little bit more of a cleanup internally to bring that. But what I've seen is, we really have to figure out balancing the two, regardless of whether it's Agent Force, GPT-5, Microsoft Copilot Studio, N8, and I don't care what you use to kind of bring it together and consume it through some AI capability. But you're trying to strike that balance. One, there is a lot of pressure from management and leaders around, hey, let's bring AI into our day to day for obvious reasons. I get why that pressure exists. And two, there is the counterbalance of what do I do with all of this stuff that's making it so hard for us to move forward, and in the longer run may actually be quite unhealthy for our AI initiatives as well. Do you see something similar? Any examples or anything interesting to share on that?
Um, I, I, I think you're right. And I also think that right now, when they talk about the gap between the superstars and mediocre in people using AI, I think that's true. But also, I think that's true of a lot of organizations. Those that have really strong leadership who understand the importance of data governance, AI governance, and all the really important things to make sure that things are done properly. They are the ones who will harness AI in the right way. And they're the ones who will understand user adoption, for example, and understand the importance of making sure you have a good team to be able to bring your users on this journey so that they're able to leverage the benefits whilst making sure that security compliance is in place. So those companies will be the ones that will succeed. Then you have those other companies that in my head I liken them to teenage boys who have this really fast car and haven't actually taken the safety security driving lessons to, oh my goodness, it can do 360 if I pull this handbrake. Oh, there's this turbo button. How fun and exciting, and just enjoying the ride without actually understanding, number one, the power, number two, the risks of using it wrongly. And that could go wrong, and I think it won't be long before we see these crashes in a quite a public sense where I think we're already seeing it. The
Correct.
confidential information being out in the world already, people using it and then having catastrophic outcome where their lives have been at risk, or corporate espionage becomes much easier, and so on and so forth. So I think organizations need to be a lot more careful, and it's this fear of being left behind when everyone's going ahead that's making them throw caution to the wind. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think it does. Uh, and in a way, it's a good segue into the other part of it. So when you think about consulting engagements and project delivery and a lot of these kind of things, how is AI changing that in terms of delivery timelines, and even customer expectations? Like, are your clients expecting, like, hey, what used to take 3 months should now take, I don't know, half of that, a third of that, 2 weeks? What are you seeing there?
I think it depends on the kind of questions that they ask. If it's can we have it cheaper, it really depends on the project. So we will have a very candid conversation about the kind of things that AI will help us do better, which would be generating more solid requirements. But people still have to do the initial discovery, having that conversation. And but what really helps now is the fact that we can transcribe everything. We don't miss stuff. So in the olden days, we would have discovery, and if I had a big enough team, I would have a scribe. I would have someone actually making notes while I'm having the conversation with the end user. And if my team wasn't big enough, or if the client didn't have enough budget, then actually I'm doing the writing as I'm having that conversation. And things will, my brain isn't all encompassing. I will miss things. And so that's the amazing thing about transcription and AI right now, is to help me not miss stuff and identify what else could I be looking at. Is Am I making an assumption here? So basically it elevates the quality of my business analysis and creating a solution. So that is part of the cost savings. It won't take us long to do the write up because I have support and assistance. But Mr. Customer, this is how we're handling the security and data. This is how our governance look like. It's going to help with QA a lot because it can generate a lot more test cases. And if we have a tool that can run those test cases and test them out, that is where the time savings will be, but not a whole lot more. Um, the projects that I have been involved to date have not seen a huge amount of savings from the coding side, mainly because the teams that I've worked with have found that they spend a lot more time trying to figure out what went wrong with what AI has been producing for them than actually if they've done it themselves. So up to now, so I'm really keen to see the vibe coding world and how that pans out. But it's having a kind of conversation with clients as to what kind of savings that they're going to get. It's more a quality thing as opposed to how much cheaper are they going to get their solution for.
True. And it's interesting you mentioned this. I have Chris Pearson, I think next week or the week after, and he has done a lot of work with, connecting their entire SDLC and bringing a lot of AI. But in particular, I really love what you said about having AI be the scribe, because we do that with Zoom and with other technologies that we use to do meetings, and it is really nifty. I mean, I still take notes with pen and paper, but that's just me. But I'm sure there are things that it captures and the details that it brings in, which are invaluable. The other part that's really interesting is, and we're starting to see a lot of that happen with our customers, is they're bringing this information from Gong, from Zoom, and other such tools inside Salesforce, and then we can run GPT-5 or probably do that with Agentforce as well, right? Like then we can basically summarize it all up, And now you have a qualitative summary, a customer 360 or an opportunity level 360, which is bringing in so many aspects of what was being said that
Mhm.
was probably just unheard of and almost not viable about 2 years ago, right? Prior to the AI getting mainstream. But yeah, I'm kind of very excited to see how Chris is doing that, and because this is like one of those few people who's a deep thinker and also doing it in a very real world sense. So this is not some consulting demo like, oh, look at how cool it's by our stuff. I
Definitely. So actually, I know you've had Vernon Keenan on not
have.
so long ago. So I know Vernon and Chris has been working on this AI document. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's
Yeah.
architecture as a strategy.
Mhm.
So just giving them a shout out, and we'll put in a link to download. It's free. It's been in collaboration with University of Berkeley, and I've downloaded. I started reading it, and I thought, you know what? I really need to find a time to just like sit down when my children are in bed, and I read the first couple of pages, and I thought I just really need to get into it because I was already hooked, and it resonated so much. And both Chris and I've talked to Chris, I've talked to Vernon, and they are people who um, genuinely want to know how AI can help humanity and not be blinded by the shiny bling. That they really care about how it could work, why would it not work, and what can we do, so practical steps. And I really love their title, Architecture as Strategy, a practical path through enterprise AI disillusionment, and then the steps we can take. So i I will admit I haven't finished reading it. I started, but I'm going to dedicate some time to read it. We will add a link so that other people can also read it. So
Yeah.
we got two other great people that you
Yeah,
know have.
very deep thinkers, and I'll probably try to get Vernon back on, and I think just talk specifically and help us, kind of understand at a much deeper level, straight from the horse's mouth, if you will. Uh,
Yes.
so coming back to the topic of AI, how are you seeing the leadership react to it? Like when you talk to senior executives and the projects that are getting funded and everything else in that ecosystem, what are you seeing there? And I also want to kind of come back to the question of how can people who want to incorporate AI into their career, are there things they can do? Are there things that you're doing as part of your training which helps them be more equipped about it?
Um, so as I mentioned, I think the feelings have been quite mixed with no clear path. Apart use cases have been those that they've seen that's been very useful for Service Cloud. Sorry, what's the new name? Agent for Service.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes.
Is it
uh, the
agent?
use case is
Okay, but Service Cloud.
the use case is very strong, to do support, to fix issues. They because you've got tech notes, you've got historical ways of how you approach a problem, so it's very nice, clean, clear. But there are a lot more. I mean, for example, like hackathon, it is to find use cases for AI, and it's trying to find a problem that this solves in an enterprise way, which I feel is kind of opposite to what we're supposed to come to market with, right? You come to market with a solution to a problem that already exists. And now it feels like the opposite. And I see a lot of leaders feeling that way. Well, everyone's using AI, but what can I use AI for? I can't figure it out. To coach my sales team, okay, my sales cycle is very different. The way that we do things does not lend itself to being coached for by AI. Yes, we can use it for Zoom and transcription and meeting notes, but what else can we use? That's not really an agent force thing, So there is some confusion as to, so there's a lot of wait and see. Plus, Many of them still struggling with tech debt and all the things that we talked about. So I feel there is still an uphill battle. Those that will embrace it will, as I mentioned, will have strong leadership who will dedicate the investment to getting it right, fixing the foundational issue, really getting a team together and making sure that it's done properly. But there are many companies that don't fall in this category who are in the scrambly FOMO situation. So that's challenging, and I'm hoping that when I read Vernon and Chris's document, that I have something that say, hey, read this, right? And let's have a think about how you want to approach it as your organization. Now, with regards to the young talent, and again, this also came from Vernon's article that he wrote so nicely about the can't remember his erosion of the middle, I think, or hollowing out of the job market. I can't remember the phrase, but basically, the fact is the job vacancies for juniors are disappearing. The last couple of years, Stanford has released a research that has backed that up. And that is because, and also I heard another interview where Shopify, AWS, Google, Microsoft, they are not releasing headcounts unless the team can justify why the job role for that headcount cannot be done by AI. And what that means is for all the young generation who's coming out into the workforce, who has to do drudgery, manual stuff to learn, to get better, to gain experience. That's being robbed. Like a very classic one in IT is that one of the first things that you ought to do would be testing, QA, or data cleansing. They're really crappy stuff. But then you learn VLOOKUPs, you learn to use different apps to clean data and stuff like that, to do a bit of scripting. Now all that's taken away. So how are they going to learn all the important things? And so in one of my articles, I talk about the talent pipeline. It's not moving ahead. Jobs will be there for those of us on the other side of the experience curve, but not on that other side. So where I'm coming from, I don't know what the future looks like, but I think the some of the skills that will always be transferable are the human skills, the listening, the asking right questions, asking Socratic questions, critical solving problems, design thinking. All of that will not go away. And actually, we have to focus more, but I don't hear anyone talking about it. Everyone, especially coming out of the Dreamforce, is like, get yourself trained on, agent force and etc. No one's talking about how how do you make sure you get your prompt right. Actually, it's about talking to the AI and having that conversation and saying, how are you approaching it, and treating it like a graduate. And then if you are young and new, it's knowing how to ask questions so that you can learn. I don't think anyone's focusing on that, which is a
I
shame.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. As the answers become abundant, right? As it becomes so much easier to have a conversation with AI, or have it review things and give you answers, as the sheer cost of asking those questions is practically zero today, what becomes so much more valuable are the type of questions you ask, right? And I think to your point, which is so profound, is there's a whole generation of people who are unfortunately not getting the kind of experience to really get a flavor of the quality of questions to ask, the nuances in a question, right? And so much of good consulting, so much of successful project management, so much of good business analysis is about the quality of questions we are asking. So I know there is a question here, no pun intended. There's a question from Rodrigo on what can be the guideline on a BA role on the use or abuse of AI and where to find them. I know you do a lot of work in this space, so I'm curious if you want to share something.
Oh, that's a really big question, Rodrigo. He's in my BA community, and I'm seeing him in Mexico dreaming in next month. I think I don't have any guidelines right now, but it is understanding what good practice and best practice is. As an aside, I'm going to segue actually to the well architected program. So I'm super happy it's coming back. Salesforce Well Architected was a program that's been running that I love so much because actually it focuses on what it means to build something that is robust, that is going to deliver value for the long run, and not having short term, shortcut kind of thinking. Um, and I believe that now that the program is back, that everyone should be well versed in that, whether you're a BA or a solution architect or a developer or an admin, you should understand what it means to build a robust system. And once you understand that, then I think you can use AI, because then you will know if it wanders into an area which is not providing a solution that is going to be well thought out, where it's structured, where it is composable, for example, where trust is an inherent design within what it's building. And I think that's the difference, is that when we don't have context or know stuff, even in general, whatever AI spits at you, you are going to take as the gospel truth, and you won't have that intuition to say, is that right? Can you tell me how you thought? Can you show me your working? Where does it say what you just said there? So the younger generation just don't have that. So what I would say, actually, I'm answering a question now, Rodrigo, is to when they relaunch the Well Architect program, that if whoever you are, going, just absorb as much as you can, understanding about patterns and anti-patterns, and when to use different integration patterns, and why not, so that you have understanding. Even if you don't have hands-on, you will get an understanding of why something is good practice and why something is bad practice, so that you can question AI whenever it gives you an answer.
That's well said. I know that we are, close to the end of this. But before we do, I really want to, spend a few minutes on something that, which I'm so impressed by that you do, which is the volunteering work at the Samaritans that you do. And I think mental health and just, kind of helping people in general is something that's unfortunately not done as much as it's needed. And I so appreciate, Pay, that you do that. I think the world needs more kindness, more empathy, more looking out for each other than it needs the next model of LLM. So I'm curious if you can talk about it a little bit and how all of us can help and be part of that in our own ways.
Definitely. Um, it segues slightly. There's a movie that was called "What Every Woman Wants." I think that's the title, and it was Mel Gibson, who can read people's minds, and he can see what this woman's thinking, and then he responds in a way that gives her the outcome, also gives him the outcome that he's looking for. And that's what I see when I volunteer. So Samaritans in the UK is a crisis phone line that is confidential, and that people can share their feelings and their thoughts, and sometimes the struggles that they go through, and how they see themselves, how they see the world. And usually it's because no one's been listening to them. So I am privileged that they will share their world with me. So it's like singing to someone's existence and how they view things. And a few things is, one is, we're not a counselor, so I can't give advice. I wouldn't know how to provide therapy. And number two is, we are totally non-judgmental. So whatever I feel about what you think about anything, I can't share that. And that's a wonderful thing because that's trained me to keep my thoughts to myself. And a lot of people don't want to share what they feel because they feel judged. That's stops a conversation. If they think that you think little of them through maybe you are doing eye roll or your body language,
Mhm.
they're going to shut down. And I feel that when that happens, communication and conversation and connection cannot exist, and your relationship will wither. And so I learned. So I started volunteering about 17 years ago. I learned how to listen, and I teach my team how to listen to each other, how to listen to me and to the client. And suddenly, all my teams just, we just have very little drama because we'll cut through. It's like when someone says, "Hey, Saurabh, are you free?" That's not what they're asking. They have another question under there, you know so it is trying to get people to skip that first question and get to what they really need. Saurabh, I've got something I'm going through. I
Mhm.
really need some time. Do you have 8 minutes? I just want 8 minutes. This is really important. You want to cut off the, because somebody will say, when they're irritated, they might go, "Oh, okay, well, I'm a bit busy. I don't." But when you get to the real matter, you're more likely to say, "I have 8 minutes for you." 8 minutes comes from Simon Sinek, by the way.
Oh,
That changes someone's state, especially if they are in a very desperate state. They just need 8 minutes of your time to change it. So, that is what I feel, that is quite lacking. People just turning inward for their own problem because no one's listening to them. So why should they listen to someone else? And so it becomes a perpetual problem. And so, it's my mission to help people. If you're in a good place, reach out to the people around you, just 8 minutes. And if you're not in a good place, you reach out. There will be someone who will listen to you. And for Samaritans, for example, we do email support, we do web chat support if you're not in the UK. If you're in the UK, you can call 116-123. It's free phone and it doesn't appear on your phone bill, especially if you are in a domestic situation that's not safe. There will be someone. There are organizations in the USA. There's 988 for the suicide crisis phone line. Talk to someone. Don't just hold it inside. So that's just, if there's one thing you take away from today, it's not AI. Just reach out to people.
what a profound way to end this conversation. I wish we could go for another hour on this. I think it's so important. Pei, it has been a pleasure, and thank you so much for everything you do. Hopefully, we get a chance to meet in person. I'm sure we will one of these days. But up until then, please keep writing, drawing, and inspiring all of us with your kindness. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been an amazing conversation. Thanks, Sorrel.
Likewise. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.